Friend, you're talking fantasy, idiocy, Alice in Wonderland, crazy delusions of grandeur, foolish entitlements, a complete corrupt comprehension of what competition is, what it should be, and you're coming in with the wrong attitude. This is not Alice in Wonderland. This is not an ostrich theory. This is not see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. This is about dangerously complex, flawed social encounters. Dangerously complex, flawed, contradictory social performers that can only be made sense of with the terminology and the philosophical approach of sociology of the absurd. It takes the absurd, you have to go into the absurd to understand the absurd. You have to go into the absurd to understand what power means, what real power means, what negotiating means in the arena of severe resistance and pushback, and survive and be able to hold your own. To be able to be as effective as it is possible to be in the now, and to want the result however it turns out, and to want and to embrace the judgment that is unarbitratable as it's hammered out in the arena of encounter and confrontation in the now. It's a power struggle. It's an inherently unfair, ruthlessly competitive power struggle with just a general template for how to behave and what to say and do. The rest is going to, of course, depend on the experience, the maturity, the phenotype, which is your body, attitude, and behavior in a public way. This means your posture, the words that come out of your mouth, how you say it, when you say it, how much you say, and how skillful you are at listening accurately and shutting up. When to speak and when to shut up is everything. How to take the micro step back. That means you take a time out. You take a time out in the ongoing situation to step back without leaving the situation. And you do that quickly to assess yourself and assess what's going on in the situation in the now and figure out what your next move's going to be. You have to do it at the time. Good example, the Cuomo situation. When this punk come up to Chris Cuomo, he's there in a restaurant with his family, daughters there, there's other women in the place, and he calls him a Fredo. The question then becomes, with what attitude did he say this? But the crime here is interfering with Mr. Cuomo's peace, with his privacy and security, just interfering with that. That alone is a crime as far as I'm concerned, regardless of what he said. Standing over him, coming up to the terrace man's with his wife, even if he wasn't. Even if he wasn't. Even if there was nobody there, Mr. Cuomo heard the insult. And that's sufficient. But what, in my opinion, and according to this analysis, Mr. Cuomo should have sat back and said, what did you see me say or do right here and now that gives you the motivation to call me Alfredo? What did you see me do? Where's your evidence? What did I do? What did I say? What did I do? Shoot! Keep it at a verbal, low-pitched verbal level. There's power in saying things and doing things with minimal effort, maximum efficiency. You up the escalation ladder. You don't get right to the top instantly unless there's a physical threat. When this man came to Mr. Cuomo's table, it wasn't a physical threat, it was all psychological. And Cuomo became his own victim of being psychologically weak and vulnerable at that moment. And he let this man hit old stereotypes, caricatures, red buttons. He let him push that button. The problem with a man like Chris Cuomo, if he goes 6'2" and he's working out, whatever it is, they get a bloated sense because he has the height, he has the physical menace and presence of how important they are, and they take themselves a lot more serious. You take a man like me, for example. I'm only 5'3". Now, Chris Cuomo's about 10 inches taller than me. Now, if there's any man that has a right to become enraged, homicidally enraged at an insult about my height, it's me. It's me. And for a man like me, if I was in shape, but I'm an old man now, I'm an infirm old man, I'm crippled, my arms and shoulders. But if I was in shape, if I was powerful, I might have reacted far more violently than Chris Cuomo did to an insult like that. If someone came up to my table and I'm with a girl, even if I'm not, I heard it, and says, "Hey, dwarf! Hey, midget!" I'd become homicidal with rage and want to rip him apart right then and there. Don't even want to talk about this. This is a horrific insult to a short man. One of the toughest things to learn is to step back. Take your time, peruse. You train for this, you condition for it. You do a lot of mock-ups in your mind. You know where you're vulnerable. You know where you're going to get hit socially. Don't talk to a woman about this. You talk to a man like me, because the woman sees it from an entirely different point of view. That's irrelevant to you as a man, in my opinion. It's irrelevant. Whatever she'd have to say about it is really irrelevant. She sees it from a feminine point of view, from a woman's point of view. But this is my issue. It's a man's issue. This is the way I see it. What do you think?